It's me, HEC3, also known as Hampton Edward Conway III, better known as Lil Hamp, and sometimes known as Shorty Coco. And this is the Get Fat Podcast. That's right, Get Fat, F.A.T, Freedom and Transformation. And I want to talk to y'all briefly today about something that I heard recently while watching a video on YouTube. A video came up into my feed, and it was actually a video about LL Cool J some years ago being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So it consisted of, different people being interviewed, talking about him and his career, interviews of him over the years, talking about his career. But the segment, the YouTube video actually ended, and I'll link it in this video, but it actually ended with him making a statement that really, really stuck with me.
I want to max out everything that's inside of me. I want to die empty.
At the end of the video, he said, I want to max out everything inside of me. I want to die empty. And I thought, wow, like that just hit me really, really hard. Like the idea of maxing out in your life, like completely exhausting and giving everything that's inside of you to the world, to your family, to your community, to God, just maxing out to the point where you die empty. Not that you empty yourself before you die, but you die empty. So to me, that just like kind of blew my mind. And one of the first things I thought about with respect to maxing out is I thought about like that term. I usually think about that term with respect to weightlifting. I remember when I first started lifting weights in high school. I actually had a weightlifting class, and that's the first time I ever really started lifting weights. And I remember I was always I was a short kid. I wouldn't consider myself stocky, but I was short and skinny, really, because I'd grown up playing soccer all my life. My legs were very strong. My legs are still very strong, but my upper body is not as strong as my lower body. And so I remember being intimidated, being in the gym, with some of the other kids that had been working out, that grew up playing football and different things and had been working out. And so my max for bench pressing was not, as high as some of the other kids' their max for benching. And I was a little intimidated by that. But one of the things I learned about, maxing out when it came to bench pressing was my max today may not necessarily be my max in 2 months. And so while I may max out at 125 today, if I keep working at it, if I keep doing reps, if I keep going to the gym, my max is going to go up. And so I thought about that even with respect to what LL Cool J was saying, like, we have the ability to max out in life. And I want to, I'm striving to, like that motivated me to want to live a life where I am actually using all of what God has put inside of me, all the skills, all the talents, all the gifts, all the knowledge, all the wisdom that God has put in me. I want to be able to take all of that and put it back out to ultimately fulfill whatever purpose he has for me in this life. But I do know that because of some of my own insecurities and fears and other things that I'm not always doing that. I'm not always maxing out. But going back to the weightlifting scenario, like, even in life, like, even if you push yourself, if I push myself right now to achieve a certain thing and I peak at it, that doesn't necessarily mean I've peaked in life. I feel like as long as I've got life to live, I can keep growing. I can increase my max, just like in weightlifting, where my max might have been 125 at one point, and then I worked out and worked out and worked out some more, and now my max is 185. It's the same thing in life, where I feel like if we continue to learn and to grow and to practice and to develop ourselves, we can continue to increase our max. So we're constantly maxing out and maxing out and maxing out at different phases of our life. Like, I truly believe that when it comes to potential, and I've got a couple conversations that I'm going to have in the future with regards to potential. One of which my daughter and I, Jackson, said we're going to actually do a episode on potential. Hey, Jax, so look out for that. But I have a certain philosophy about potential, and so I'll give you a little teaser. One of those is, I don't believe that you should ever reach your potential, because that means once you've reached it, that's it. I believe you should unleash your potential, because as long as you keep developing, as long as you keep growing, as long as you keep, nurturing your talents and your gifts and learning as you grow, your potential increases. And so you just continue to unleash the potential that's inside of you. And so that's what I think about, and that's what I want to do with respect to maxing out. Like, I want to continue to max out everything that's inside of me. I don't have any regrets in this life. Like, of course, there are things I would change. If I were to go back and do things differently, there's absolutely things that I would change, but I don't have any regrets. But I can honestly say that, like, I don't want to get to the end of my life and wish I had done a certain thing, and wish I had just pushed a little harder, wish I had not let fear overcome me and stop me from, really going after this dream, a certain dream that I had, or wishing that I hadn't, put something off for so long that I never got a chance to achieve it. So, I really, really like that statement that he made, the idea of maxing out everything. He said, I want to max out everything that's inside of me. And, like, not just certain areas, right? Not just certain aspects, but maxing out everything. And I think there's certain things for me that are easier for me to engage in and easier for me to go after, right? And I very well could max out in those areas. But there are also other areas that aren't as comfortable, areas that aren't as familiar, or areas that aren't as easy. And I got to put a little more effort into those things. I want to max out in those areas too. Every single thing that God has put inside of me, I want to max out. And going back to the last phrase that he made by saying he wanted to die empty. Like, to me, that's deep as well. Like, knowing that you die, wanting to die knowing that you haven't held back. Dying knowing that you haven't held on. Dying knowing that you don't have unfinished business. Dying knowing that you did all you could. Dying knowing that you actually fulfilled your purpose in life. Dying knowing that you unleashed all the potential. Not just reached your potential, but unleashed all the potential that God has put inside of you. I do believe that God has called us all to something. And God has given us all gifts, and given us all talents, and given us all certain skills, given us all passion for certain things, and given us all purpose. So, being able to tap into those things, being able to be in tune with God, just so you know what those things are. And I know sometimes it's hard to know what your purpose is. I know that's a huge, huge topic and something that people struggle with. But as you start to recognize, some of the things, and I'll be honest, like I'm about to be 47 in October, and I'm still learning myself. I'm still getting to know myself and realizing more and more the things that God has gifted me with, or the things that God has put inside me. And so I feel like I'm always rediscovering myself. And so as I'm doing that, I'm trying to do my best to take those things and nurture those things. And you may have heard me talk about this before, but one of my favorite passages, that I think about when it comes to gifts and talents is in 2 Timothy, where Paul is telling Timothy to stir up the gift of God that is in you. And some versions say to fan into flame. Some versions say to kindle afresh. It's the idea of starting a fire, and that when you start this fire, the old school way, right? That it might have just been some rocks and some sparks, and then you've got these little tiny pieces of kindling, and once you get the fire started, you got to blow on it, and you got to add some more kindling, and you got to blow on it some more, and you really got to work it. Like, you have to nurture the fire in order for it to grow. And that's the analogy Paul was using when he was talking to Timothy, and saying that, hey man, you have these gifts, but you have to nurture them. Just because God gave it to you doesn't necessarily mean it's already at its fullest potential when he gave it to you, when he planted it inside of you. So there are some things inside of us that we have to nurture and that we have to grow. And ultimately, those things are going to bear fruit. That flame is going to grow, and it's going to grow to the point where it can be a bonfire, and that bonfire can be contagious and setting other people on fire and changing other people's lives, because we're at a point where we're maxing out. We're at a point where we're fulfilling our purpose to the point where other people are being impacted. Your family's being impacted. Your community's being impacted. Your spouse is being impacted. Your children are being impacted, right? Because we're taking the time to max out the things that are inside of us. And so, when I saw that and heard that, it was really profound and has stuck with me for some time. And that's just something I wanted to share with you all, and just to hopefully encourage you, inspire and motivate you to do what you can to max out everything that is inside of you, to max out all the things, all the gifts and talents and skills and knowledge and wisdom that God has given you. So I want to max out everything that's inside of me. I want to die empty and know that even when you hit a peak, there's other peaks to hit. You can keep growing. As long as you're living, you can keep growing and growing and maxing out. So again, it's me, HEC3. I'm just hoping to give you a little something to chew on so that you can get fat. So come on and get fat with me on the Get Fat Podcast.